Yo, I always say I love Americans, but I'm scared to death of America. I don't know if you can tell YouTube, but I'm black, and my relationship with America it's been kind of complicated. Her and we've always had trust issues. I've had questions about her fidelity since back before I was even born. Like, what really happened to JFK? Well, praise God that we live in a transparent America now. And following President Trump's executive orders to release the JFK files have all been released to the public. My name is Marcus Russell. This is the Marcus Russell Show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Yo, let's get right to it.
Welcome back. I'm Austin Westfall. Well, today was the day. Thousands of pages of previously unseen files related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy were released today. Right now, over 1,100 documents totaling roughly 80,000 pages are visible on the National Archives website. This comes after President Trump's push to release the files, and standing by is a man who knows the history of the assassination well, presidential historian and author James Robinault. What have we learned today, James?
Well, Austin, we learned a lot about the CIA. Most of these documents are CIA type documents, from their plan to try to assassinate Castro. Operation Mongoose is what it was called.
Shit.
Lots of detail on that, involving mafia figures to help them. It's an incredible story.
Crazy.
To Jack Ruby and Oswald being seen in a nightclub, according to a CIA memo weeks before the assassination, to all sorts of discredit on the single bullet theory that the ballistics people thought, that this just didn't happen back when the Warren report came out, to the CIA operation out of Mexico City, and all the intelligence they were gathering on Oswald. So it is a truckload of information. It's going to take weeks to analyze. Their 100-page depositions in it. It truly is a real trove of information that begins to paint a much stronger picture that the CIA knew kind of what was coming, and may have been involved in the group out of Miami that was the anti-Castro group that may have been setting up Oswald. So a ton.
Yo, U.S. authorities have previously released hundreds and thousands of documents, but like always, they always leave out critical information. But many people, many skepticals, including me, have always believed that Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone. So, we're going to find out soon.
Of stuff.
Does this change the official narrative?
I think it will. I mean, I think what we're going to end, as I've said before, this is like a big jigsaw puzzle, and we have a lot of pieces in place. What we didn't know were some of the identities of some of these people, and the CIA documents. Everybody's got a code name, so that's going to take a long while for people to unravel. But I think it's going to show that they were very active with the group that was entangled with Oswald in New Orleans in the summer of 1963. And the evidence is starting to look more and more like they were setting up Oswald, and that the anti-Castro group were the people who might have pulled the triggers. So I think there's a lot here to work with, a lot to analyze. And as you know, because of Paul Landis's revelation that he found the bullet in the limousine that you and I have talked about so much, that tends to prove there was an ambush, that there were multiple shooters. This will then start to give us a better idea of who might have been involved.
Yeah, so let's back up on that. So for people that are watching that haven't watched our interviews before, why do you feel it is appropriate to question the actual story, and you know what? I will say this too, by the way. The official version of the story is that Oswald was the lone gunman. So why do you feel like it's fair to question that theory?
Yeah, I think that the main thing is that when Paul Landis found the pristine bullet behind where Kennedy had been sitting and Jackie had been sitting, it showed that that bullet had only gone superficially into his back and that it fell back out. That means that the bullet didn't go through him into Conley, which is the official version. And, one bullet caused all this damage, which nobody ever believed. The problem
Nobody
is
ever believed that
Kennedy
anyway.
gets hit, and within a split second, you can see that Conley gets hit. So there's not enough time for Oswald, who has a bolt action, to shoot about 3 seconds, load and shoot again to hit Conley. So there had to be multiple shooters. And once we know that, we know that there's a conspiracy. Once we know there's a conspiracy, then the question is who was involved in it. But that evidence is pretty strong that there were multiple shooters.
From what you have seen of the documents, are there redactions?
No, I haven't yet seen any, and I've seen people write who've been through a lot more than I have that they haven't seen them yet. I think they really did take off the redactions. And again, you know, this is going to help put together these pieces of the puzzle, because you have these various people who are identified in Miami, you have the people identified in Mexico City, and now you're starting to put all this stuff together to see what the puzzle looks like once you put those pieces in.
So I got to ask, this is something that you and I have talked about ad nauseum. I mean, the assassination happened in the 60s. Here we are in the 2020s now talking about this. Why did it take so long for these documents to be released?
I think the answer to that is that when the Warren report came out, President Johnson and Hoover in particular were very much trying to end the controversy and not spark World War III. They were worried that this was going to be blamed on the Cubans. They were worried it was going to be blamed on the Russians, and they were not willing to risk nuclear war over all of this. So they very much pushed the Warren Commission to get it done, blame it on one person. And at that point, the Warren Commission came out with a report that started to fall apart almost right away, but they still, a lot of people still hung on to it. And the only reason that it's taken all these years is that the CIA convinced president after president that there were still people alive, there were still operations that they needed to protect. And it's only really in the last year that we finally have somebody saying, well, enough of that. Let's see all of it. It cannot be that we are going to destroy people or operations 60 years later. But it's going to be embarrassing, which it is, to the CIA.
Yo, so Kennedy, yeah, CIA is gonna be real embarrassing to the CIA, first off. Okay, so Kennedy was shot during a visit to Dallas, Texas, November 22nd, 1963. That guy from the National Archives Association, he noted that there were multiple bullets inside of the limousine, which proves that Lee Harvey Oswald was not shooting alone. And that he also noted that since we had like a covert mission to try to poison and kill Fidel Castro, we had a whole campaign, covert campaign, that they didn't want it to be known that it was retaliation. They didn't want to say that it was retaliation, and it ended up being a nuclear war. But it seems to me that Lee Harvey Oswald was set up. And although the files are released, there's hundreds of thousands of files it'll literally take to the end of this month to get through. But yo, something's telling me that, like always, it was the old America, the old sneaky America that we didn't trust. That's why I'm glad that America's with Trumpito now, so we can kind of trust her again, because I'm willing to put the past in the past, the old things that she used to do before she got in a new relationship with Trumpito. You tell me what you're willing to do in the comments. Let's talk about it in the comments. My name is Marcus Russell. This is the Marcus Russell Show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Till next time. Peace.